Patrick Wheatley, and welcome to episode 106 of the Wheatley podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, as always, wherever you choose to. If you're on YouTube, you might hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps get the podcast out there into those algorithms that I don't really know anything about. Thank you very much to Jen Murphy for coming on last week, a feminine embodiment coach and a mythologist, and it was we got some amazing feedback from it. But for me, I was entranced by the mythology that she talked about, the Celtic mythology, and I don't really know a lot about it, but I've promised Jen to learn a bit more because I was genuinely gripped by the story she was telling. So, Jen, thank you very much for that and for giving us your time. And yeah, keep supporting the podcast and sharing. And everybody, thanks very much. We'll get into this week. Our guest this week is a singer, musician, and a songwriter, and her name is Eva Coyle. How are you doing, Eva?
Good. Hi. Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. I had how was your week?
It was quite kind of blustery. I was doing a few mornings going in for a swim, and I wanted to go for a swim this morning, but the wind was just really so I didn't go swimming this morning. But yeah, it was a good week.
Can I tell you about my day yesterday? Right, it was one of those ones, where I've first of all, I fell off my bike on the way to the gym. It was ridiculous, kind of Buster Keaton moment, because it was the two of us were on a bike, footpath, and it starts to narrow, and the two of us were, as we are in the last couple of years, social distancing from each other. We're making sure to give each other so much space, like ridiculous amount of space. So as we passed, the back tire slipped off the curb and I came down on my knee, full down on the. It's fine, it's a bit bruised, but it's more the ego thing where half the town were at the roundabout there, so everybody was looking, and I was like, oh god. And then yeah. I get into the gym, right? So I cleaned off my knee and all that, and I'm teaching the kids classes, right? We do Jiu Jitsu for kids, and I've a very badly bruised toe from Jiu Jitsu from last week, and I've 10 toes. And one of the little kids, now he's only small, he's only 4 or 5, he's just running around, just playing or whatever. And the one toe he stood on was that toe. And there is an art in not cursing in front of kids when this happens. So I kind of hopped away and bit my lip, and yeah, that was my day. It was just one of those ones, It's not yeah. But this is not about me. I just wanted to put it out there that it's a new day.
Sorry for your toe and your knee. God, that's really unfortunate.
It is, but look, you just got to keep going. So it's a new day, Eva, and I'm looking forward to getting into this. Besides my life, could you give us a short history of your upbringing, please?
Yeah, so I grew up in Athlone in the Midlands, with my sisters and my parents, and I would say fairly fortunate upbringing. Spent a lot of time on the river, on the boat, and playing music. So my parents are musicians, so we would have been exposed to that a lot, on music and environment. And I was always encouraged that we pursue our creative things, and so I went on to study music at UL in 2011, and I've been pretty much working on it for the last 10 years.
Mm. There's a lovely thing about musicians when they come on, the support that we see on our pages on WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever, when I post that you're coming on, the support that you get from people who have been on the podcast before, but other people who may not have heard the podcast, whatever, they just see your name, and it's a really, really nice thing. And I do like that thing about, and I kind of had it years ago. There's a little small community with it, which is very warm and embracing, I think.
Yeah, in the musical community, for sure. Yeah, I think we're maybe more sensitive, or I think artists in general tend to be more kind of perceptive, or everyone, I think, is an artist to some degree. But I think a lot of my close friends have been musicians,
Yeah. And there's a certain kind of struggle that goes along with it as well, I think. And everybody who has been through it or seen it will always kind of give that little bit of support. I think that helps. So speaking of actually things like that with struggle, when did you first become aware of mental health?
I would say around 14, 15. I think I would have been, it would have been around the time where I was not really feeling as good in my friend group, and I was kind of growing in a different way, and I just wanted to play music. So I'd say that, and I think I retreated a little bit into myself around the time, and I would say then I entered a talent show as well when I was like 16, and it was I would thinking back, it was a little bit exposing. So during that, and I think after it, I found it a little bit more difficult to cope with, and it definitely challenged my mental health. I kind of, after it, I found I wanted to retreat. I kind of wanted to hide. I didn't really want to go out that much. So that definitely brought on more negative, thoughts and stuff. So I would say around that time. Yeah.
There seems to be, it seems to be coming out more and more about those kind of talent shows in general, that there is a real, maybe it's tied in a bit with reality shows as well, but talent shows, there's a pressure on contestants that obviously you're stepping into something that you've never been in before. It's not the same as playing in a club or a pub, but you've also got when you're young and when you don't have the skills to deal with that thing, I can only imagine how stressful it is for someone you said you were 16.
So I was 16. Yeah. I think back, it's such a blur because I almost feel really detached from it. I think it was almost kind of like I was almost like a bird in a storm, because it was, I mean, I think I've learned from that experience that I don't really like a lot of attention. And it's something that I've kind of been conflicted with, because, you want to express music, but you don't want I was kind of uncomfortable with the attention around it. And it kind of caused me in a way to withdraw from performing. I think there's definitely better ways to develop your creativity.
That's very fair, I would think. So when you were growing up, then you said your parents were musicians. What kind of music were you, was around you?
My parents play kind of all different types, like jazz. We would have listened to a lot of James Taylor growing up, and my dad would, been playing Simon and Garfunkel, and Paul Simon. He's always playing something on the guitar by Paul Simon, the Beatles, and that kind of thing. So I think my dad definitely, on the boat, I can just remember we had the James Taylor cassette, and that was played constantly. And also, that the Gypsy Kings. We also had that cassette on the boat. And my mum, I mean, I suppose I've been lucky because I have been exposed to different types of genres, but I've always had a connection with folk music and traditional music, especially.
I find that the influence that my parents had on me with regards to music and what they were listening to, it really, they really had a good taste. Both of them had good tastes in music, and I'm very thankful for that. That I didn't have to go searching. It became an organic kind of thing where, the Beatles were always there for me. And my dad was a massive fan of Neil Diamond, which I didn't appreciate until I was maybe in my late 20s. And I was like, oh, he's actually a very, very good songwriter. But, James Taylor, speaking of James Taylor, my mom's usually into James Taylor, and obviously Simon and Garfunkel and all those people you name, those kind of classic artists were always there for me. Was there any point where you kind of rebelled? Was there any did you go in any direction? Like, I felt I was rebelling a bit when I started listening to Guns N' Roses and Nirvana.
Rebellion, I suppose. Musically, I found I just loved playing tunes. Like, I loved the comfort of sitting in a session and just that kind of hypnotic feeling you get when you're just like playing tunes and it's like that drone. And I felt such a connection with that. So I wouldn't say I rebelled from the music of my past, but I just gravitated more towards the folk music, you know, and all the different, you know, types of folk music, you know. And I think when I traveled a little bit and I explored different types of folk music, and then I learned the dances and the rhythms of it, yeah, I was like, wow, like there's just so much to this. Like you can learn so much about a culture through exploring their folk music. So that really, yeah, interested me a lot.
I think it's fair to say that, you know, folk was one of the original rebellious kind of genres anyway, when it comes to lyrics, and when we go back to people like Woody Guthrie and people like that, where it was proper rebellion in times when rebellion certainly wasn't invited, we'll say. So when do you remember when you bought your first album? Do you remember what your first album was?
It was Norah Jones.
Very nice.
Come Away With Me.
That was huge at the time as well.
Yeah, I love her, and I just thought that the way she sorry, it sounds a bit like a parrot. It's the air thing. Yeah, I loved her stuff, and yeah, like Martin Hayes stuff, and Norah Jones.
One. Yeah, that's fair enough. I always like asking that question because we were just talking before. Musicians will always know those moments in their lives, like, you know, with regards to first albums, favorite albums, things like that. So the next question, I suppose, is you've kind of already covered it, but like, who inspired you to become a musician?
It was never like a moment that I had where I was like, I want to be a musician. I mean, it was so much in the home, and performing was always like a natural thing for us, you know, like you'd go in, you know, we'd be doing sessions and you'd sing out. So it was never a thing where I was like, I want to be a musician. It was always just there. I suppose when I realized that I wanted to really pursue it and really understand it, yeah, I wanted to, you know, study it and the UL, and that really was, I think, more open then, because I could, you know, explore concepts, and I could engage with artists of different areas, and yeah, just opened it up so much more. And I realized, yeah, this is what I want to do, aside from, you know, my withdrawal of, you know, or my conflict in performance. And that's just one side of music. I mean, the writing aspect is something that I really enjoy, and then the expressing of it is another side to it, which I really enjoy as well. Like that dialogue you get, I really needed it actually with the audience to connect and feel, I suppose, just feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like, if you weren't expressing it, you'd be, well, I know I'd be pretty stagnant.
Yeah, that's okay.
I just need to be, you know, active in that, because that's what I am, and I've embraced that more. I think, you know, it comes with being a musician, and yeah, you just put all the other stuff to the side and be like, no, this is my artistic quest, and I'm devoted to it, and I'm just happy to be able to express it.
We're going to cover some of your, obviously, your own music and stuff like that, but I do think it's very, what you've spoken about there is very visible when I have seen clips of you performing, and there is something like seeing a spirit in someone that can be seen in musicians when they're, whether they're right in front of you, whether it's through your phone or your screen. If you can't get to a performance, whatever, you can see it. And I think there's something very, very beautiful about seeing an artist at work, and obviously you get to see that more with musicians than maybe some other art forms, you know. Eva, just let me read out an ad and we'll get right back into it. All right. Okay. Mic placement, very important here. That's what my man told me anyway. Fusion Training Center, Monksland Athlone, a place to train in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts, and CrossFit. A great atmosphere with experienced coaches and a real sense of community. If you want to join the team, find us on Facebook at Fusion Training Center or drop in for a chat. Fusion Training Center, train like a warrior. Yeah, there's places open there now. Well, there's places open there at all the time. So just give Martin a buzz. If you want to try something different, try something.
That's really nice. Yeah, is that like karate or what kind of?
It's so we have MMA, so the mixed martial arts, and then there's kickboxing, and then what I do is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, which is basically rolling around the ground trying to choke each other. It's yeah, it's honestly though, Eva, when someone told me about it, I was like, that sounds something I wouldn't do. But when you get in there, all of a sudden there's this rush you get, and
is it like a choreography? Like, is it like a dance?
No, it's more barbaric than a dance, but it's not. No, there's no striking allowed. Okay, so there's no punching, kicking, and things like that. So it's a lot to do with the grips that you use. It's a lot to do with the kind of outfit that you have to wear, which you choke them with their collars or with your hands or with your arms. It's about joint manipulation. So if you might grab their arm, bend it back the way it's not supposed to go. It sounds like it's just like people just not knowing what they're doing, but we all kind of know what we're at this stage. But it's hugely addictive. It's really it's one of those things where it's like when you're talking about music there, actually, when I don't know what I would be doing now if I didn't have it for the last 4.5 years or whatever it is now. And you start to see improvements, and like with everything, if you start to see improvements, you just want to go more and more. You want to really kind of get into it, and it's really. It's a really great sport, and that's why it's especially with my mental health, it helped me so much to get in there, a few times a week, and with having good crack with the people in there. They're all lovely people, and just being able to do something that at first thought seems bizarre, but it's a lot of fun.
Takes you out of yourself almost, kind of, in a way. Nice.
There's nothing like the 5 minutes sparring, it's called rolling, but sparring of if someone's trying to choke you for 5 minutes, you're not thinking of anything else.
Yeah.
It's great in that sense, But listen, let's get more about you, Eva. Right. So when you're with regards to your voice, actually, to your singing voice, and I think a lot of people maybe don't realize the fact that a voice has to be kind of found in a way. It's not just, oh look, some people just come out and bang out an opera tune and then you're kind of like, wow, that's amazing. But for me, a voice had to be found. Was it for you to find your voice? Was it very natural, or did it take a little bit of time?
Yeah, it has taken time, and I would say I haven't found it. I think it's a thing that's like very much a part of the process of being an artist. I think it's like my voice sounds quite different now to how it would have been when I was 16, and I almost feel it's weird, I feel almost kind of detached from it slightly, but I'm trying to like embrace that as well. And it's like because I suppose with all the experiences I've had, like in Sweden and in Chicago with musicians and performing with different projects as well. I think the album that I'm bringing out is kind of a culmination of all that, because it's pretty much, material that I've worked on for the last 10 years, pretty much. 2000 when I was in Sweden was when I kind of started really focusing on what am I going to actually do? But like, it's been pretty much in draft from then. And my voice has, I think, become, when I'm singing now, I very much kind of tune out. Like if I'm performing, I try not to see whether it's, whether there's many people there's one person, because you can have, one person there, you can have 30 people. It doesn't really matter to me. I think it's not how I equate a successful gig in a way. I find when I zoom in on the actual performance of it and connecting, it's really important for me. And I feel, job done.
Yeah,
I feel fulfilled in that.
I think it's so important that what you said about, maybe not having found it yet. And maybe that's the great thing about art, like, is that the quest kind of continues.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, it can vary from, you know, I was playing with a group over in Chicago, and it was kind of more like American folk, and then you're doing Swedish polskas in Värmland. And it's like, I'm loving the contrast of it all, because it just kind of throws you into different spaces. And yeah, coming back, I think the last year, especially having time to really devote to making the album, has really, I suppose, allowed me to create my own thing and do arrangements. And I've been really grateful to have that space as well.
Do you, when it comes to songwriting, is it the thing where you say, okay, I'm going to sit down and write a song now? Or is it more, you know, you're out going for a swim and a melody or a lyric or a tune comes about?
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, that's so funny, actually, because when you're swimming, yeah, I find when I'm driving, when you're in flow at all, you kind of get ideas along the way and stuff. It might be just maybe a little motif, or yeah, it kind of comes to me in different ways. Like, I don't sit down and say I'm going to write a song about this. Like, songs kind of have come about, and then I mightn't understand the meaning of them till afterwards. Like, you know, like Yellow Roses was one that I wrote on my first EP, and I only realized recently that the yellow rose is the friendship flower. So I was like, oh, it's starting to make sense now. You know?
Yeah, I think, yeah. I'm going to ask you about your single that you have recently, Mo Chuisle. So, because when I listen to your earlier songs, and obviously you talk about folk music and things like that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one. This is just my own interpretation, and I suppose we all have that when it comes to music. But there seems to be more of a maturity in the songwriting now of Mo Chuisle. Like, obviously the instrumentation within that song is kind of has kind of grown compared to the others, but there seems to be more of a confidence in it.
Yeah, like, I would say, yeah, I've grappled with confidence a little bit, and I'm more confident now, but I think it definitely wavers. I think I'm more understanding of what I'm doing now, and I it's about the message of the songs. I find, yeah, that song is about, you know, the hunger for wanting to be free of busy plans, and yeah, I really wanted to get that out. So, like, yeah, it depends on the song, really, but I know what you mean. There is a difference in my first EP, I'd say, to what I'm bringing out now, and I suppose, yeah, it's a different time, it's different things happening. And
yeah, I mean, I was listening to your earlier music, and this was a while back, actually, when I talked to you about having you on before. And I was listening to the music, and it was one of those things where obviously I want to learn about the artist and find out what, you know, see what the songs are about and stuff like that. And I had I put the songs on first of all in the background, and I can't remember what I was doing. It was something stupid, like putting something together or whatever it was, stack of books, doesn't matter. But it became, after about a minute and a half, when you stop doing what you're doing, like, and you sit down to listen to the lyrics, which you probably should be doing at the start, but it's something kind of in it caught me. And I don't know whether it was your voice or whether it was what you were saying, or maybe it was a bit of both, but there's something drew me in about those songs. Like, and maybe it's because I love that particular genre of music. And I'm not going to say who, like, I don't want you to compare yourself to anyone or anything like that, but because you're your own artist and stuff. But those songs, like, when you look back on your first EP, where did those songs come from? Like, at that stage in your life?
Well, so where does the time go? Yellow Roses, In the Whirl of the Seasons Despair, like, they would have been, like, I was always writing songs, like, and I suppose, like, my first song, I was such a, when I think back, tragic teenager. Like, I mean, the first song I wrote was Burnt Toast, Leave It Alone, There's No Use in Scraping Off the Black Bit. I mean, like, is that like a metaphor for me being a bad person? I don't try to analyze my lyrics. Yeah. I just sing them out, and whatever comes out, you know. But that's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was probably a mixture of heartbreak and love and being, you know, madly obsessed with someone, or, you know, it could have been a bit about grief. I think this was a little bit more about grief.
I think it's what's great about them as well, though, because it's all, again, like I said, your own interpretation and what you can take from those songs. And maybe on that particular day, which was a few months ago now, maybe on that particular day, I was in a place where those songs meant something different than what maybe you were singing about. And that, you know, it's beautiful to kind of get that from something. And I guess that's what I mean about Mo Chuisle being, you know, look, all artists grow as they go on. And like we said, the confidence grows and they get used to being in the studio and the recording aspect of it. And how have you, because obviously you're talking about bringing your album out, how have you grown in the studio?
I mean, it's a nice space to be in. I'm really comfortable in the place that I work with down in Clonakilty with Brian. He knows the way I kind of work. We've been friends together now 7 years, and he really helped me with the first EP as well. So I think like it's nearly like we're all friends there. We just chill out and we kind of say, okay, we want to do this and just jam it out. Really, it's really nice cleansing time. It's kind of my favorite part of it, because like the last few years I've nearly felt in harvest in a way. So when it's okay, I get time to just put it out now, it's nice to that side of it. But yeah, I love the studio. Like I'd love to have my own studio. I think that's a huge dream of mine, just to have space that I can just go to and put stuff down,
Yeah, well, and look, everybody needs that space, but to be able to write a song and record it and almost immediately is the dream for everyone, I suppose. Why? Actually, I should have asked this earlier. What instruments do you actually play, Eva?
So I have the accordion, and I just looked at my dog when I said accordion. I have in the car, and piano, and
okay.
I just got a bass as well, a violin bass with flat wound strings. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm just kind of learning that at the moment. Yeah, be cool to transfer some songs at that, but I think I'd need definitely support behind me, because I'd love to just play like some notes, and just that would be really fun. So you could just sit back and watch everything. Yeah.
I've always think of Paul McCartney when someone mentions violin bass. I think they're a really cool looking instrument. So obviously I have to discuss, you've mentioned it already, but the Swedish folk music, studying that, how did that come about?
So it actually came about by accident. I was third year of college down in UL, and I wanted to do like an music exchange. So I was looking at Newcastle, and that was like my first option, and Newcastle wasn't available. So my lecturer at the time, Mats, who's from Sweden, of course his name is Mats, he said there's space in Sweden. So I went over to Sweden, and it was like, this really rural town in the forest in the Skogen with this little music college, and they all spoke Swedish, and it was brilliant because they had like folk dances in it was really a traditional area. So I kind of focused on their traditional music of that area, learned how to dance it. And my tutor, Mats Berglund, who's such a good friend of mine now, still, I remember hearing it first, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get this. Like, I don't really feel it right away. And he was such a soulful performer and musician. And I just thought, wow, I think I could really get into this, because, when you get the dance and you get the rhythms, I actually didn't understand until I danced it. Then I enjoyed it more as I got it. So now it's like a second home. I mean, I'm learning Swedish, and Matthias and Nina are on the album, so I go over and back, when I can. So I collaborated with Matthias, who's a Swedish folk guitarist, bouzouki and stuff, and he pretty much transformed the stuff, because I brought the material on the piano and voice, and he just made it into something I was really, really happy with. Like, amazing.
Can I ask you then, just this is kind of a vague question, and I apologize in advance. How does it differ from what you knew with regards to folk music? How does Swedish folk differ?
Well, I mean, a lot of the folk stuff, like the themes, could be similar. Like the songs are narrations of stories. It's and it's similar in the sense that, you know, you have your Ceili music, you have traditional music, so it's very similar, I suppose. With Swedish music, the dancing is to a different feel of the music. So the meter is the same. It's the beam of the music of the rhythms, and the way that you beam to the dance differs from the way you beam. So if I was dancing a waltz in an Irish way, I don't want to but like I would probably dance it a little bit differently, beaming it differently with the Swedish way. So I learned to kind of almost to tap my foot in a different way to the music, and that, like, when I listen back to the music now that I'm putting on the album, it's really like you can feel the polska in it in a way. So I was hugely influenced when I went there. But I've such a rooted, I suppose I feel very grounded in my Irish traditional music. So that's a big aspect of it as well. Like, you know, that's in my style. So it just definitely influenced it. Like,
I think it's great when you talk about adding the Swedish kind of influences, not just, you know, deciding that this is the way we're going to go, you know, adding someone in who has a different background in music. I was recently learning about Indian classical music and how the different time signatures work. And when you're talking about the dancing there, was very interesting because I was doing a lot of the counting of time signatures in my brain, you know, with regards to Indian music. And my brain was not working with the time signatures. I could not get it until, you know, maybe the fifth listen, the sixth listen, where I started to kind of go, okay, they're missing the beat here, they're adding the beat here. And I think for someone like yourself who is writing music and obviously is hugely interested in other types of music, you know, adding different things in, I think it's pretty brilliant to be constantly searching and constantly evolving as a musician, because I think it adds interest for you as well as not just the listener, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool that you did the Indian classical. Yeah, we did a little bit of that in college as well, with Matthew Noon, and yeah, they were really cool classes because it's improvisation, really, isn't it? So, and if you're a session musician at all, you're really going to enjoy that because you can just be a little bit freer in the expression of it.
I think everything that I get through music has come from the Beatles. So it was to do with George Harrison being so into the Indian music, and then that's why I went away and started becoming kind of fascinated by it, you know. I know for musicians, live performances is such a huge part of it, and you know, with it having been taken away for the last couple of years, how was that period for you, and how was it, or how good is it to be back?
Yeah, it's been stagnant in a way, but I think I was a little bit stagnant before. I think I really only came into wanting to perform in the last 2 years, really. And like, yeah, I know there was a lockdown, and I think I said to myself, right, okay, I could, you know, just sit here and just record music and express it, but it doesn't move unless you have the live performance. And I think that's, you know, what we really, I think, learned through the pandemic. We understand the value of that exchange for the listener and for the artist. And it's definitely a thing. You need the two to create that energy. And it does, like, I love that experience. Like, yeah.
I think you can see it.
Probably was really sad because we didn't have as much, you know, opportunities to perform. Yeah, and sessions, really missed sessions.
I saw a couple of your I think it's Instagram, I'm sure it was Instagram posts that you put up where you were performing and watching other people perform. And there's a clip you put up of obviously three of your friends performing, and it was just like, because I haven't been out, I haven't seen a live act in a long time. It's not, I don't really go out as often, you know, as I used to, but to see just three people And like I said about you earlier on, it's that love and that those exciting moments that musicians have. There was a stand-up bass player that was playing on one of the videos you put up, and I was just focused on this guy who was just loving life, and it's so important after all we've had to kind of miss during the time, to see these people like yourselves and all live performers just to get back in there, and
like it isn't to see people in their full light doing that. And it's the same like with anybody that immerses themselves in different things. Like my granny, she cooks, she just she comes alive, she gives her energy. Other people might be gardening, or whether it's like reading a book, anything that you have that immerses you in something, I think, and takes you out of yourself for a bit, I think is really important, especially for your mental health, and just trying to, I suppose, navigate healthy well-being. It's tough.
It is. And we talked before, Eva, just before we start recording, about the idea of how music lifts the spirits. And we mentioned even during lockdown, for me to have my guitar nearby was just something that you can just get on the guitar, play 3 chords over and over again. But there is something very, very special about it.
Yeah. And like when you're sad, you can play it. When you're happy, you play it. Like it's just a thing to do, really, isn't it? To feel, connects you, it roots you down, or it does something anyway.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I always ask these questions, and again, most people will have these kind of things in mind. So who are some of your, I know you mentioned a couple of artists before, but who are some of your favorite artists?
Musicians?
Yeah.
I love Martin Hayes. I love him. I think any musician that plays from the heart is someone that I want to hear more of. I'd listen to a lot of instrumental folk stuff, so bands from Ireland and from Sweden as well. And if I was currently on my playlist, I'm listening to Mandolin Orange.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard of them. They're really nice, easy listening to. And who else? Kate Rusby and Julie Fowlis. They'd be kind of folk singers, and just recently there. I love John Black too, from Cork.
Right.
He's bringing out a new album. I think he's brought it out on cassette as well.
Oh.
So I was thinking to myself, do we have a cassette player anymore? I don't know. I don't even have one in my really old car. But I love the idea of it not being completely digital, That was something that I'd try to get to, but I think at the moment I don't have as much of a, I'm building, I suppose, the listening base, so hopefully I can get gigs. I suppose in order to get the music to get more reach, I have to put it online, so I don't mind that for now. Like it's
I mean, thank you for naming people that listeners may not have heard of, because it's really important that we don't, I don't want everybody just come on and say everybody the same people all along, because I think it's important that we do get out, and I will obviously listen to those people, and that's great. But about that kind of like the digital thing, and look, it is so convenient, that seems to be the main thing, because I've got my MP3 player there and my phone and that, and it's just too easy to throw it on. But like I've got a corner at this corner in my room, and this corner over here where I've got records and I've got CDs, and that's all it is convenience. I mean, I'm listening to the same songs, I put on an album and the album's literally there and the stereo is right beside me, but it's having the thing just in my hand. And I love the idea of the fact that records came back a few years ago. They kind of made a surge. And you mentioned cassette tapes. They're another thing that seems to be making some sort of a comeback. And it's very interesting to me that I thought the cassette was dead, but it's so interesting that it's coming back.
I think it's great because, there's something in a physical copy, even like a record, like smelling it, feeling it, putting it on on the table, like it's so much more, you're so much more present in that than, you know, clicking a button. And
yeah. And you know what I love about having the record on the player, that the way it moves, because it's obviously got a little bit of a tilt on it. There's something even hypnotic about that. And I don't have a huge amount of records, but the ones I have are very dear to me because I search them out on purpose. You know, it's like you buy CD, you go into a CD shop and you buy, like, I've got a lot of CDs. I would never listen to it again. They're just, I used to like them when I was 18, and now I'm kind of going, why do I like them? But the records are different. The records are kind of a collection, you know, that I want them to be all really great albums. And have you been to those record fairs that have been around?
No, I'm not a record collector. My dad has records. I'd love to get one. But my friend Bean has one, and I was down in their house last week and he showed me his records and the collection and everything. And I was like, this is so nice. It's just listening to music in a so much better experience than, you know, the way, yeah.
You know, the fairs are so, everybody's so nice. Everybody's kind of, it's again, we're talking about the community thing. And like you say about records, I wasn't going to refer to it, but it's because there's one behind me. But it's just the fact of the artwork was created back then for record size sleeves rather than CD. So you get to see the full effect on a record. And looking through them is just, it's like just gold mines everywhere, you know?
Yeah, because I was looking at the record behind you and it looked to me like it looks like the silhouette of a witch. Not, is it?
It is. No, it's actually, do you know what? I'll put it up to the camera so you can actually see it properly. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, but so it's.
Oh, yes. Oh,
see
yeah.
it? Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. And there's a guy behind him, as you can see here, just looks like he's coming out of his back.
Going this way and a person going that way.
Yeah, I want to say sorry for the people who are listening to this on audio, but I did hold up the front cover of Neil Young's After the Gold Rush album there. Have a look at it. But it's very interesting. Eva said to me, it thinks it looks like a witch. And I can see it now from where I'm looking on the camera. But obviously, when it's revealed, it's the fact that it's a negative of the photo, I think, and that's why it's fake. But yeah, it's that idea, you know, that it's a beautiful cover. And it's lost on a CD, you know, it's on a CD case cover, but we're really getting nerdy here, aren't we? But it's good. So, excuse me. So what's Eva Coyle's favorite album of all time?
Oh, God.
Sorry.
I should have been given pre-warning on this one because
I should have, yeah, sorry about that.
It's hard to pick one, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't have to, I tell you what.
I think James Taylor. Yeah, every song on that I could just listen to. Yeah, I think because it's a connection from my past as well, my childhood. So I say that it's classic.
I've got a James Taylor record in my collection, and it's because it was my mom's, and she gave it to me, and he's a brilliant songwriter. I mean, he's one of the great songwriters. And my mom got to see him live there a few years ago, and I think it was the last artist that she really, really wanted to see, and she hadn't got around to. And she got to see him very close to the front too, so she was thrilled with that. But James Taylor is always a good answer. Again, a connection with the Beatles. I think that's the fourth time I've mentioned the Beatles. So if anybody's keeping score, hopefully nobody's doing a drinking game on the amount of times I mention it. So, Eva, what are your hopes for the future with regards to your music?
Yeah, I just want to. I want to be able to play and do gigs. I have songs, you know, that I want to put down and perform and collaborate with people. So my hope would be that I could, I suppose, you know, gain people that want to actually listen to my stuff and eventually get gigs. And that would be really the dream. Yeah, it's hard to know right now because it's, you know, some people like it, some people don't. And I think I try to not put as much weight on that. You know, I don't really care if people like it or not, you know, just expressing it, and if it connects and that's great. But I think definitely I need to be expressing music, and I've learned that about myself. If I'm not, I'm a bit more moody.
I think that's the attitude is very interesting, and it's obviously it's something that I've taken a while to get to where if I create something, and it is about not caring. If someone doesn't like your music, you can't convince them to like your music. And it's look, oftentimes it's nothing personal. It's just a matter of taste, you know. But when I listened to your music, and without any expectation, because I had only come across you on, I don't know if it's Facebook or Instagram, but whatever it was, without expectation. But it seems to me like that it's a fit though, like for you know, for an expanded audience. It's beautiful music, you know, and it's something that people can connect to, whether it's to do with the country, you know, that you're in, or you know, what you're singing about. It doesn't really matter what the connection is, but it's music that I connected to on my first listen. And I think a lot of people who are you know, into their music and interested in music outside of their maybe core, you know, music like Nirvana or something, I think it's something to grasp on, because it is a kind of a universal music, you know.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good that you think that as well. That's great. I'm hoping you can come to one of my shows in May.
Oh, it's the one in May.
Yeah, I'm doing some gigs in May for the album, and I'll have, you know, some friends with me as well. So we'll do, yeah, it'll be fun because a lot of the stuff is lively as well. So but some of the stuff is slow. So yeah, it's going to be a Hollywood mix. Really
Right.
cool. Yeah.
Well, Eva, I'm there, right? And I'll tell you why I'm there, because I've mentioned this before, but I try to take something away from every episode. Obviously, more than just the conversation, the great conversation, and the things I learn, but take something, whether it's physical or, you know, metaphysical, I guess. But the idea that this is what I'm going to take. I'm going to go to your gig and get to see these songs played live, because that's where it is. You know, that's where the spirit it is.
Come to one of the Jiu Jitsu classes as well. Like, I think that would be a good exchange.
I think that's a very fair exchange, and I think it'll be something that maybe we will both grow from it. You know, because I need to. I've a pretty bad anxiety disorder at times, and I need to get out to places. You know, but it's about finding something to kind of grasp onto sometimes. You know, and it's finding like a purpose. So if someone says to me, like yourself, says, oh, I'm playing a gig in May, that's a purpose. That's something that I don't just want to go to a pub and just drink, you know, I want to go to a gig. So we'll swap. We'll do the gig, and then we'll do jiu-jitsu. Not the same day, because that'll be exhausting, but we will do it.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
So could I ask, just before we kind of sign off, like how do you like this kind of thing when you're not performing music, when you're talking about it with people, and it's being recorded?
It's probably out of my comfort zone a little bit. I don't really, prefer to be playing gigs, like, and playing the music. And I remember we chatted a little bit about this last year. You know, I was thinking to myself, oh, you know, I don't really want to talk much about my you know, my history and stuff, or what I'm doing. But I think it's important as well, because I'm very much connected with my music. So, you know, it's probably good to express who I am as well, and I've become more open to that and getting more comfortable. Maybe I don't know if I'm ever going to be extremely comfortable, but it's really easy to chat to you, and I think it's important to have these conversations, especially with mental health. And it's a thing that, you know, everybody copes with in their own way. And like, I suppose through ups and downs, like you have a good gig, you have a bad gig, you have a good day, bad day, you know, just about kind of, you know, approaching it with more ease and understanding that you get good gigs, you get bad gigs.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you fall off your bike, you get back up, you know, it's but I the fact that I like to learn about the artist as well, you know, like to listen to the music is one thing, but there's a kind of still a mystique about it, which sometimes is lovely as well, you know. There's nothing wrong with that mystique, but to be able to chat to you and find out you know, where the music came from, you know, with your parents and stuff, but also like how you're willing to explore different types of music and different genres to draw them into your own music. And that for me is fascinating as someone who has been into music since we're quite young, you know. Eva, where can people find you and your music?
Yeah, so it's on all the social platforms. So my music is online everywhere, and my album will be out on the 6th of May, so I'll have that up on my website, and I should have some more tour info coming up in the next month, so I'll put it up on the website as well. So Eva Coyle, Instagram, website, you'll find it there.
You'll find it there, and you'll find the music in your usual spots. Eva, it's been a genuine pleasure and a very interesting chat.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Listen, if you don't mind, I have to ask this of everyone. If you stick around for a minute, I'll close it out and we'll get a photo and we will go about our Saturdays. Is that right?
Sounds good.
Great stuff. Listen, I also want to thank John Francis for the technical side of things. Nathan Dunn for his promo stuff. We really appreciate what he's doing for us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like I said, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just like Eva, you'll find her on the Instagram. Spotify, Neil Young, Apple, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and all the other ones that I failed to learn. Thank you very much to everyone for listening and for everyone for watching. Eva, once again, thank you so much. Oh, look at this. Oh, who's this?
It's a cuddle. This is Rosie.
Oh, that's a beautiful dog.
Yeah.
He's not. Is it? It's a boy.
It's a girl.
It's a girl.
Yeah.
She's very cute. She's like my landlady. I live with my landlady. She has 2 dogs, and she's one very, very similar. She's a brown kind of one, but very similar. Yeah.
So she's a little bit colder now, so she needs a coat or something. But she's happy out here now. We need to go for a wee soon. So. Oh
yeah. Okay. Listen, we need to get the dog for a wee, so we're going to sign off. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Eva, thank you. Everybody else, we'll be back next week as always. Take care of yourselves. Bye.